Okay, here we are for part two of Teal Swan's Astropsychology. And we're diving deeper into her more esoteric um, aspects within the chart, um, which will highlight why she's such an important figurehead today and how and why she embodies everything we pretty much disown, deny, reject, and suppress. And that's her very definition of the shadow, that which you reject, suppress, deny, and disown within ourselves, within the collective unconscious, as Carl Jung would say. But we're here to bring that back up from the rubble and show that to the light of day and everyone else's awareness, and integrate Teal as a luminous spiritual being and her teachings into our everyday life so we can move forward as better individuals and as a better collective.
So we can finally answer the question, is Teal Swan your twin flame?
And so we can find out finally, is Teal Swan my twin flame as well? That's the most important question.
Yes.
But, maybe we can save that for the end. Don't know.
Yeah, we leave it for the end.
Yeah, I bet many guys are wondering the same thing. So wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, Georgios, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here again for this part two. And I just wanted to touch on her social persona and appearance. And the ascendant sign in anyone's chart is basically their social persona and how they come across to the world in appearance and energy. And we have an ascendant in Cancer for Teal Swan. And visually, she has that kind of, as you would say, a Hera or Juno.
Yeah, it's because
you want to elaborate on that?
Because Juno is exactly on top of her ascendant. She has this quality that she's looking a lot like a matriarchal figure. She's like a figurehead as a mother archetype, because that is what Juno, which is Hera in Greek mythology, was supposed to represent at the beginning. And this goddess, she was supposedly the first one who was about the matriarchy, about the woman, about marriage, about relationships. And she talks about a lot of relationships. She also has Sun conjunction Venus. So both this Juno aspect and this Venus aspect give her this Venusian, this harmonious, this beauty qualities. She likes to be a great beauty, whether she acknowledges or shares it openly or not. It's very important to her to somehow connect people back to this kind of nature, this part of the lover archetype, but I would say, so it's very prevalent there.
Yes, I think she did mention in one of her interviews that if she did not incarnate as a beautiful woman, nobody would listen to her, basically.
Yeah.
So in a sense,
go into the shadow aspect of the lover, where we reject what is not aesthetically mirroring ourselves, where we reject that which is the greatest object of our desire, because maybe it's out of our reach, or we are always looking for the next high, always for the next drug, the next experience, the next place. So what other qualities does this Hera figure, this mother, Teal Swan have? It's always coming out through the midheaven, which is what the job professional life is about, because the midheaven ruler of her chart is Mars, because midheaven is an Aries. This midhaven likes to fight a lot of people, but even though she likes to have conflicting qualities in what she says and how she teaches, she has Mars conjunction Saturn, which means actually her work life is afflicted in the way that she's more mechanical, more organized. She's almost a bit rigid in the way she structures things. Like you said before, she works on Saturdays. She tries to keep everything very nice and tidy. And this tidiness can be crippling if there's a lot of pressure on these aspects. And with Saturn conjunction Mars, there's a conflict between these two deities within her, two conflicting voices, where one voice is saying, I want to fight people, I want to tell them they're wrong. And the other person is saying, no, we need to be careful, we need to back ourselves up very well, and we need to approach methodically. And it's in the 5th house, which is the house of entertainment. Here you usually see people who stream a lot, do a lot of videos, play games, they have a lot of fun, they're very entertaining themselves, they make a lot of jokes. So she's actually very funny. But in their professional life, because it's conjunction with midhaven ruler, Mars, it's holding this back. One voice is saying, I want to make a joke about this, but the other voice is saying, no, we're not going to understand, we're going to think you're this or that. Yeah. This is what we see when we see how she polarizes people. And she has a lot of squares with her midhaven. She has Sun square midhaven, Venus square midhaven, Jupiter, Neptune. These are 4 squares she has. And basically these squares mean she wants to do things one way in her professional life, but the planet is saying, wait a second, consider what I have to say, and it may put a wrench into your plans because you have to readjust, readapt. Sometimes people like that who have so many tension creating placements on their chart in one particular area of life, which is the professional life, they struggle to a point that they may become rigid.
Yes, and that rigidity certainly shows, and as you already said, the way she structures her videos and needing to release a video exactly once every single Saturday. And you know, that might impede the flow a bit.
What's the solution? Now, if you want to ask me what the solution to that could be, the person has to let go of Saturn trying to impose itself on Mars. She has to explore more of her Mars, try to bring that suppressed warrior energy out. And the more comfortable she gets with her warrior energy, then Saturn will still operate in the background, but it won't feel so much fear or insecurity that is holding her back.
Yes, as we mentioned yesterday, in the Deep End smear campaign, that has managed to bring out her Mars more, that fiery Aries energy more.
Yeah,
which is good. Which is good. You know, and you know, it's not all, you know, seriousness and fire and shadows. You know, as you said, she does have a funny side. And do you think that it shows in her Gemini and as a joker? You know.
yeah. Gemini, Cancer, Venus with Sun and Mercury, because jokes are all about making people smile. It makes them regulated. It makes them feel pleasure. It's a pleasurable activity. It's also ruled by the 5th house as well, which is, like I said, the house of entertainment.
Yeah.
And her South Node is actually in the 5th house.
Mm.
So she already got all the skills she needs for that, but she lacks fire in her chart. So she lacks the warrior spirit, which just needs a little bit of conscious manifestation so it can operate within her, integrate it. Because to integrate an energy that is lacking in your chart, you bring it consciously. It's almost like you say, okay, I know my warrior is lacking, let's do some warrior things. Like some people say, fake it till you make it. I look towards some famous warrior figure or a deity and I say, okay, what would this warrior figure do? And then just do that thing and act and posture and talk as if you are that. And then naturally, this weird thing happens and it suddenly starts to feel very real.
Yes, alchemy.
Yeah.
Well, she has a gift of alchemizing the human shadow and turning it into gold, really.
Yeah.
Almost like a magician. Almost like a magician.
Yeah, that's because the elements, I made the post today that there is an element with each magician as well. With each archetype. So the magician, in my opinion, is a combination of water and air. Now air because Mercury, obviously the ruler of Gemini, he rules thinking and the process behind machines and technology. Technology is the domain of a magician. And she has 3 planets in Gemini, plus North Node in Gemini and Chiron in Gemini.
Mm.
All this is like, okay, it's like a lens. A light is cast upon the area of her life, which is all magician stuff in air. And then there's the water stuff with Mars, Saturn, Lilith, Pallas in water signs, and Cancer ascendant, which is also magician stuff, witchy stuff. Now the Scorpio, I say, is more warrior than magician, because the Scorpio needs to operate to perform surgery. He takes a knife, cuts into your wound, destroys some flesh, and seals it. So there's a lot of pain in her work. She works to bring pain into the consciousness. Like her latest videos are very representative of that, where she talks about the problems of toxic positivity, the problems of denying your fear, you're denying your pain. So we have the Scorpio stuff, which is the internal healer trying to take that on. And what
Yes, yes. The Scorpio can be very annoying, but necessary.
Yeah, people don't like scorpionic, plutonic types.
No, I don't. I hate them. But they are a necessary evil to kind of highlight the ways in which people tend to engage in spiritual bypassing, essentially.
Yeah. Both Virgo and Pluto, Scorpio, they supervise this domain of destroying something in order to purify and regenerate.
It's almost like a Shiva energy, the destroyer.
Yeah, it's very masculine in that regard, yes.
Yeah.
That's why I said the Scorpio is actually a warrior. It's a feminine sign because it does the warrior stuff internally.
Yeah. The feminine warrior.
Yes. I mean, everyone looks at Teal Swan and they see a very masculine figure. Much as she portrays herself as this Cancer ascendant, look at me, I'm so magical, I'm a witch. Still, the masculine energy is undeniable.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're dealing with something quite androgynous, really.
Yeah, typical
But,
Gemini.
yeah, typical Gemini. Well, the twins is kind of both.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And if you want to talk more about other esoteric aspects in her chart, let's
Yeah.
talk about her Chiron.
Yes, that's in Gemini, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's in the sign of communication.
Hmm.
So she struggles actually a lot in that area, which is her best area.
Hmm. Because Chiron is the wounded healer, you know?
Yeah, and she has to be the best at that
Yes.
because there's Venus, Mercury, Sun in Gemini, all conjunction together. And Chiron is conjunction her North Node in Gemini. So she's born to be a communicator and to get better and better and better at that. That is perhaps the main focus of her work. And with Chiron, the origin of Chiron is this. He took an arrow, he got poisoned, he tried to heal it and it didn't work. He could not do anything about it. So it stuck with him. This is the wound we get stuck with the most. Like this is where we get pressured and triggered the most with our communication. No. And now that's why some people with this aspect, they get a bit neurotic about how they speak. I have this aspect, I have Chiron in the third house. Sometimes I roll my tongue while I'm speaking because there's this background anxiety of saying the wrong word, of being misunderstood. So a lot of work, a lot of energy is focused on that.
That's so interesting because from experience of communicating with Geminis, obviously it's an air sign, they're very airy, hyper intellectual, and borderline psychotic. You don't quite know where they're going with the communication.
Because we're trying to adapt to any given situation, so they're always changing.
Yeah.
So mostly she has this mutable energy. She's a combination of mutable and fixed signs. The mutable.
What I've noticed. Yeah. No. Go on. Yeah.
I mean, they're just adapters. They do a lot of different things. And the fixed, they preserve. They try to keep what they have and just make it better. So you go ahead.
What was I going to say? Oh yes, no, I've noticed like within the different media of communication, like in her videos, she's very, quite staid and serious and Saturnian. But if you look at her workshops, her personality is quite more in alignment with her ascendant, which is quite magical and playful, actually, when you actually witness her workshops, her live workshops, as opposed to her videos. It's a really interesting contrast.
Yeah, you know why that is? Because the ascendant is how you respond to your immediate environment. And the midhaven is how you respond to when you go out of that environment. You go out into the world, you take on the challenges, and you go to your workplace and you talk to your colleagues. And suddenly she's this Saturn, Mars conjunction, Aries midhaven person. Like, I want to fight you, but I'm very contained, very serious while I do this. And the Cancer ascendant, oh, you're around me, my children. I will take care of you and love you, and I will make it very magical for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the question remains: is Teal my twin flame?
Well, for that you have to look at synastry.
Yeah.
That's before. Basically, if anyone wants to see a celebrity's chart and ask themselves, is this like someone that if I get to know them personally, I could have a relationship with, and what kind of relationship could it be? They just look at the synastry chart and the composite chart on astro.com. They're not going to get their answers just by looking at the chart alone. It has to be a combination of theirs.
Yeah. All the conjunction signs and
conjunctions and oppositions and the houses. So for example, your house, the seventh house, sorry, your second house, second house in Aquarius goes into her seventh house,
right.
where her relationship is, where your values are, where your comforts are, your material possessions. Now, the good thing is both are Venusian houses. They're ruled by Venus. So usually when you have both houses together, it's good for sharing stuff, sharing what you have. This is good for friends, for example. If you wanted to know more about a romantic relationship, you would have to look at the fifth house. And to some degree, maybe the 12th house, because it shows you where you touch the other person subconsciously. But let's go back to her chart.
Yeah.
So in her chart, she has Neptune and Jupiter in the sixth house. This is the house of work, which is the house ruling over the way she structures her life and where she tries to serve other people. So obviously for Neptune, she serves them through magical stuff, through archetypes, through symbols, through paintings. Neptune in the sixth house person, they're often artists. They sell a lot of art in some way. They love their metaphors, the way they bring other people through work, through selling something to them, creating something, crafting something specifically for them that brings them back into the womb.
Yes, in fact, her frequency paintings are quite Neptunian.
Yeah, that's why, because it's in the sixth house of work and craftsmanship.
I do feel transported into this sort of primordial womb, going back into the original dimensions, so to speak.
And her other stuff is that Jupiter is in the sixth too. So Jupiter is what kind of teachings she does. And it's in Capricorn. So she's trying to give people very structured goal settings. Like if you have this mental problem, then you have to ask yourself this, or you have to take this kind of action. She's very specific. She's very practical and down to earth. That's good about this Cancer ascendant, makes the Capricorn in the sixth house. It's an ideal position for work.
Yeah, that comes across very strongly in the videos. They're extremely practical and grounded, which is a bit confusing given her
Magician.
her energetic or spiritual nature. It's like a complete juxtaposition.
It's very much the Cancer ascendant through and through that creates this polarity shift. Because the Cancer, they're with one foot in the water and with one foot on the land.
Yeah.
They're not fully, they don't go into the ocean. They're strolling along around the coastline, going with the tides, trying to avoid actually getting drowned.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get drowned, you're looking to Pisces. Pisces is a fish. He's in the ocean. He never even dares to go on the land. He's neurotic like that. He tries to avoid ending up where he cannot breathe anymore. So he stays there under the waters. But Cancer is just constantly shifting with the tides between the water and the land. Yeah.
Okay, so that's at least more balanced, really.
It's just because her personality is a 12th houser,
Yeah.
which is like the Piscean type, all her work comes from the ocean. She brings what is in the ocean, she brings it to the beach. And then from the beach, it goes to the land with the 6th house Neptune and Jupiter. So actually, the paintings that she makes, maybe she gets some kind of messages, she finds some metaphors online, things that inspire her. And then she thinks, okay, how do I get this to the people practically?
Yeah.
So she has a shop online, people can visit, can directly sell the stuff through her. And yeah, what else is there to say about the chart? I think we covered most of it so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk.
Obviously, if we did a live Q&A, we can get people chiming in eventually to ask questions. That would be obviously somewhere down the line, we can get that arranged. So, future recordings, we can do live Q&As as well.
I could talk more about squares and oppositions and stuff like that.
Please, yes.
Because I could tell you where she experiences the most stress. Now, one thing I told you before is a professional life.
Yeah.
But the other stresses she has in the chart, she has 3 planets who have in conjunct with Uranus. She has Mars in conjunct Uranus, Jupiter in conjunct Uranus, and Saturn in conjunct Uranus. Now, it's quite unusual to have so many in conjuncts with one planet. Normally, when you have that, you end up with a yacht, like a finger of God, like a blind spot. But in her chart, it's not a blind spot because it's all clustered together. So it's more like an area of extreme tension.
Right.
It's in the 5th house, which means struggles with romance quite a lot, to find the ideal partner who loves her. She tries to protect her heart a lot with detachment. She's almost too much oriented towards what other people are wanting or what they are thinking. She's spending a lot of time readjusting herself so other people can approve of her. Even though all her work is actually designed to get out of that, it shows this is where her need to make that work actually comes from. And her moon is in conjunct with Neptune, which means she's extremely sensitive also to perhaps a debilitating degree, because Neptune causes a lot of tension with his moon. Sometimes we see this placement with people who had some kind of enmeshment trauma. Sometimes they have emotional incest, or we have some people in the early environment who are constantly trying to use her to regulate their emotions, or who had a lot of mood swings, and she was trying to predict how they're feeling from moment to moment and trying to adjust herself to that. So she's very good at reading people's feelings, but at the same time, not so good at reading her own. Obviously, there's a lot of places that can tell you a lot about these psychodynamics, but these are just some aspects she has in the chart that can tell you that. And I touched upon this in part 1, where I said her sun was opposition to her Neptune. So she has trouble with her self-image.
That's surprising because she seemed very self-possessed.
The trouble she has is that she doesn't always know, is this me, or is this how I should be, or how do I look in the eyes of others? And if I am doing this, are they going to recognize me? These are some questions she asked herself. She asks herself these questions and she struggles with these questions. Every opposition, every incongruent that we have, they tell us what the person is asking themselves periodically, regularly, throughout their life, to resolve these problems between two planets. And the most difficult planet perhaps in that chart is this Uranus. And it makes sense because that is where her North Node is, in the 11th house, the house of friends, wishes, hopes, and dreams. She struggles to make friends while being herself at the same time. It's always like, oh, if I'm myself, I'm not going to have these friends. But you're not going to have real friends if you're not yourself.
Yeah.
So you're caught in this trap almost.
Because obviously she has a cameraman who's basically her lover, and then a team of people, some of whom have betrayed her.
Exactly.
I get the sense that she's basically dragging and or carrying everyone along with her.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I kind of feel for that pain. It's annoying being at the top, but also being kind of just unsupported, because even though you have a team of supporters, it's you who's dragging them and carrying them. And that must feel incredibly isolating and frustrating.
The king has to marry the lover for her. If she wants to be a king and she wants to succeed as a king, she needs the lover to make those intimate connections with those people around her and to be more in touch with what they want, while never forgetting what she wants to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Am I the lover?
That was a question, wasn't it?
Anyways, no, this is profoundly insightful. Yeah. And for you who are watching, Georgios is amazing in terms of reading natal charts, soul charts, and bringing astropsychology into the 27th century, really. So obviously in the description I'll put your links to your services as well, obviously, because you have.
I always also have your link to your YouTube as well. So anyone who wants to watch a lot more content like this and other stuff from Jesse, they can find his link as well in the description below.
So Georgios, did you want to quickly talk about zerotation and what you do?
Oh yeah, well, my website, basically, I call it zerotation because I help people return to their original nature, to rotate through their chart, through their life, through their self-knowledge, until they find themselves in that chart, in their body, how they reconnect to their original nature, which is like a zerotation, like you go back into the void and you're looking into the unconscious of your body, and you're seeing what are the mechanisms that are operating behind your life, that are controlling your life behind the scene. And they're only controlling you, in the case of controlling you, if they are not integrated into the scene yet. So by making them seen, by understanding them, then they cannot control you anymore. Then you can actually work with them.
Yeah, like, so basically the planets are like the directors and we are the actors.
Yeah. We're trying to work with the director.
Yeah.
because the director wants a certain movie.
Yeah.
And if we're not playing along, then the movie is going to be a disaster. How can it be a good movie if the director and the actor is playing against each other?
Yeah.
Oh.
Brilliant.
So that's kind of how I use astrology. I have a more of a unique view on it because I come from this psychology background. That's why we made this series, because you also have this interest in the psychology, and we combine astrology and psychology together, because that is how you can actually get some answers. You're not going to get answers just by knowing about a few planets and what they say. We have to understand the psychodynamics that the planets are representing. So to actually understand what's happening in my body, my mind. What is this voice saying to me? What is this planet saying to me? What does it want from me? What does my Mars want from me?
Yes.
Like if I have Mars in Virgo, like does my Mars want make to cook, to make movies, to fight with people, or to harmonize with people? Does it want to engage or avoid? Does it want to approach or move away or move around the problem? What is the style that this Mars has?
Yeah.
Because if we are trying to make up our own style, we usually make it up our own based on what we think is the most effective. Society is telling us, do this and you'll be successful. But if our Mars wants to do the opposite of what society is telling us to do, then we're going to get sick. Right? Internal voices battling with the voices we absorb from the outside, because we cannot keep the outside out forever. It's always going to influence us. So we need to know what the voices inside are to make them louder.
Yeah.
Screaming against those outer voices. Otherwise, the outer voices are going to take us over. We're going to get drowned in the collective unconscious because it's trying to impose itself upon us all the time.
Yeah. All right. On that note, thank you so much, Georgios. That was awesome. And see you in the next one, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Much love. Take care. And may the force be with you.